Well, friends, Donald Trump has been gagged. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, today I was in federal court in Washington, D.C., attending the hearing on Special Counsel Jack Smith's motion to impose a gag order on defendant Donald Trump to try to get him to stop threatening, harassing, intimidating witnesses, to try to get him to stop poisoning the jury pool, and to try to get him to stop endangering pretty much anyone who was involved in the endeavor of trying to hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes, like members of the judge's staff, like the prosecutors, members of their staff, family members of those respective people. And today, Judge Tanya Chutkan, presiding over this hearing, heard the arguments of both parties, the prosecutors and Donald Trump's criminal defense attorneys, and at the end of the hearing, she imposed a gag order. So friends, I want to take you through some of what happened in the courtroom today, and I want to use as a vehicle for our discussion a really nice article that was written about today's hearing. It's in Politico. It was authored by Kyle Cheney and Josh Gerstein, and here is the headline of that article in Politico: Judge imposes gag order on Trump in D.C. trial. And that article begins, a federal judge has barred Donald Trump from attacking witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff involved in his Washington, D.C. criminal case, imposing a gag order that sharply escalates the tension between Trump's 2024 bid for the presidency and the realities of his status as a criminal defendant. This quote from the judge, quote, First Amendment protections yield to the administration of justice and to the protection of witnesses, Judge Tanya Chutkan said Monday as she issued the gag order. Quote, his presidential candidacy does not give him carte blanche to vilify public servants who are simply doing their job. Now, friends, let's pause here for a moment, because twice during today's court hearing, Donald Trump's criminal defense attorney, John Lauro, said the quiet part out loud. And let me tell you, friends, I spent 30 years prosecuting cases in courts, both military and civilian, both federal and local, both trial courts and appellate courts. And what I saw from this defense attorney really looked more like he was Donald Trump's campaign operative, or maybe his PR flack. Twice, here is what defense attorney John Lauro said to Judge Chutkan. He said, the only solution to this problem of no gag order being constitutionally acceptable, the only solution, Judge, is to continue this trial until after the November 2024 presidential election. And that, my friends, is when Judge Chutkan was at her most animated. Here's what she said in response to that. Quote, this trial will not yield to the election cycle and we will not revisit the trial date, Judge Chutkan said. And that is all she had to say about that. The article continues, complying with Chutkan's order will require a significant shift in Trump's public demeanor. He routinely uses his social media megaphone and rally speeches to assail his lead federal prosecutor, Special Counsel Jack Smith, as deranged. Trump also has taken to branding the lawyers working under Smith as thugs. Those comments, Chutkan said, risk poisoning the proceedings. Okay, friends, let's dig into that for a minute, because Judge Chutkan, in a number of ways during the course of the hearing, made it clear that so much of what Donald Trump says and what he posts or reposts involve thinly and sometimes not so thinly veiled calls for violence. Here was one of Judge Chutkan's observations about Donald Trump forever talking about Jack Smith and his team of prosecutors being deranged thugs. She said to Trump's attorney, "What do you do with deranged thugs? You take them off the street." Isn't that the signal Donald Trump is sending? Here's the other thing that Judge Chutkan said about that was true and was really disheartening and highlighted some of why it is we're experiencing the problem we're experiencing right now with Donald Trump getting away with far too much. The judge said to Trump's attorney, "You know what, Mr. Lauro, any other defendant who is on pretrial release in a federal felony case who said that the person prosecuting him was a deranged thug would be revoked on pretrial release and would be detained pending trial." That is indisputably true. So my question is, why is Donald Trump any different? Why does the fact that he is a former president and is a candidate for president give him some kind of special rights, special status to threaten and endanger the very person and the team prosecuting him and not find himself in pretrial detention the way the judge made clear any other defendant would? So yes, that was a true statement, but boy, it was a disheartening statement. And it highlights the fact that when it comes to Donald Trump, the laws are not equally applied. He gets beneficial and preferential treatment that no other defendant would get. Let's hope that begins to change. And this gag order is certainly a step in the right direction. The article continues. Chutkan said that Trump could not launch a pretrial smear campaign against those who might testify against him. She said she would consider sanctions if she observes any violations. She did not elaborate on those sanctions, although she said she planned to issue a written order with further details. Now let's pause there, because there was some discussion of the range of sanctions, and they discussed the fact that there could be financial sanctions imposed, though I think we all know that Donald Trump would simply grift his supporters to satisfy any financial sanctions that Judge Chutkan might impose in the event he violates any of the conditions of release, violates any part of the gag order. They also discussed the possibility of criminal contempt, holding him in contempt, which can carry a period of time in jail if he violates the gag order. They also discussed the possibility of home detention if he violates the gag order. And it was mentioned that he could be revoked on release and detained pending trial if he violates the gag order, which actually prompted the defense attorney to say, you're going to end up jailing Donald Trump? And Judge Chutkan just kind of sat back and let that one hang in the air for a minute. The article continues. At times, Chutkan chafed at Lauro's speechifying, admonishing him to answer her questions rather than engage in political rhetoric. This from the judge. "Obviously, you have an audience other than me in mind," she said, as Lauro defended Trump's use of the word thugs to describe Smith's team. Lauro also found himself offering what the judge clearly viewed as strained interpretations of Trump's social media posts, including one colorful message describing Washington, D.C. as filthy and crime-ridden. This from the defense attorney. Quote, I don't look at those statements in any way as disparaging the people of the District of Columbia, the defense attorney said, framing the taunt as an attack aimed squarely at the Biden administration. Well, the judge pretty quickly and definitively debunked that claim by the defense attorney, saying, now wait a minute. Your client didn't say the policies of the Biden administration have resulted in the District of Columbia being a, crime-infested, drug-ridden, filthy city, did he? And of course, as I think we all could have predicted, Donald Trump immediately started using the gag order to do what? To fundraise. Quote, "Today really isn't about gagging me. It's an attempt to gag the American people," Trump wrote before asking for a contribution of any amount. In other words, that's Trump saying, just keep sending me your hard-earned dollars. The article continues. The judge noted that courts have routinely agreed that defendants' First Amendment rights must yield when their speech might corrupt or interfere with the administration of justice. To underscore the point, Chutkan pressed Lauro on several hypothetical comments Trump might make about, for example, Bill Barr, saying he should be executed for treason, saying he should keep his mouth shut, or threatening his future in a potential second Trump administration. In each case, Lauro said such commentary would be First Amendment protected speech and not in violation of any pretrial restrictions. Chutkan rejected that rationale. Because he's running for president, he gets to make threats, the judge said incredulously. So friends, let's pause here for just a minute. I want to talk about something Judge Chutkan said during the course of the hearing that I thought was pitch perfect. And she said it not just once, but twice. As she was going through some of Donald Trump's dangerous, reckless speech and posts, she made the point that, no, Donald Trump doesn't just come out and instruct people to, assault the witness against me. He doesn't just direct people to get after that witness who is expecting to testify. But the message he sends is unmistakable. And she used a historical reference, a saying that you may be familiar with. The saying is, "Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest?" Now, I was familiar with the saying, but I have to admit I looked it up to refresh my recollection of the origin of that quote. It's attributed to King Henry II, who wanted something done to Thomas Becket, who was then the Archbishop of Canterbury. But he didn't just direct his foot soldiers, his minions, his supporters to go out and hurt Thomas Becket. No, he just sort of ruminated out loud. Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest? Doesn't that sound a lot like Donald Trump's incessant statements and posts and reposts about the witnesses against him? Let's finish up with this quote from the Politico article. This from the judge. "Mr. Trump is a criminal defendant. He's facing 4 felony charges. He's under the supervision of the criminal justice system. He does not have the right to say and do exactly as he pleases. No other criminal defendant would be allowed to do so, and I am not going to permit it in this case." She certainly could have added, because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.